Let's look. New polling from Gallup has the president's approval rating at 40%, essentially the same as February. His numbers are sinking, though, on some key characteristics. 45% think the president keeps his promises. That's down 17 points in 2 months. 52% say he is a strong and decisive leader, a drop of 7. 46% say he can bring about the changes the country needs, down 7 points. Just 36% say he is honest and trustworthy, down 6 points. 42% say he cares about people like you, down 4. And 41% believe he can manage the government effectively. At the same time, a Pew Research poll finds the president's job approval hovering around 39%. That is well below the popularity of his predecessors at similar points in their presidency.
Wow. So Obama was at 61, Bush 55, Clinton 49, Bush 56, Reagan at 67.
He had a rating of, let's see, approval rating of 49%. He had a relatively low disapproval number compared to Trump, 54%.
And that's
President Clinton.
So let's talk about these numbers. Mark Halperin, your Marist poll that you so ably ran had Donald Trump at 39%. I was skeptical of that poll, to be honest with you. I thought he was thought after things shook out, he would be around 42, 43, 44%. But that's just dead on with Pew and Gallup and these other polls.
Yeah, I mean, the polling's pretty consistent amongst respected polls. He's just under 40 or just at 40, and as Mika just showed, that's worse than other presidents at this point. You'd think he would have gotten a bounce, but I think the lack of change in Washington, the lack of progress in Washington, I think is what's holding his approval rating down. People looked at his style during the campaign, and a lot of Americans said, that's an unorthodox style, but that's what we need to change Washington.
Well, and he'll get it done, and he said he'd get it done, and he said health care was going to be easy, Mike. He failed on health care. The tax code is bogging down now. The New York
Muslim ban.
The failing New York Times, which subscriptions way up since Donald Trump was president of the United States, says that he's now the tax code. I mean, he's stumbling on tax reform. You're right. The travel ban held up in the courts.
Two things. I mean, Mark just pointed out one of the things. I mean, the level of expectation among voters on both sides was that, okay, fine, he'll get something done. Something will happen. Nothing really has happened. The other thing I feel is harder to get to, and you pick it up anecdotally, and it's almost a cosmetic issue, and it's people are sort of disappointed that he's not acting more like a president.
So you remember 1 month in, I came here and I said I called 14 of my friends in Florida that supported him. Every one of them except one still supported him. It's great what he's doing with the press. It's great this. He's sticking it to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're from the part of Florida that pulled it through for Trump.
Yeah, they came through for Trump. That is not what they're saying now. A lot of them are now telling me, I'm just not watching anymore.
They're sick of the tweets.
I'm just, and this is interesting. They've tuned him out.
Yes.
He said, I'm not watching.
Yeah.
And this is something that he doesn't understand. And I'll just say it flat out, he doesn't understand. Every president has a sell-by date. I remember being shocked that 6 years in 1986, Ronald Reagan was giving a pitch on getting relief, on getting aid to El Salvador rebels. He would have sold that in a second in 1981. By 86, people were tuning him out because the president only has, again, they all have a sell-by date. Barack Obama's might have been 5 or 6 years in, where he gave speeches. It just wasn't the same as 2009. Donald Trump, by giving so much and tweeting so much and being so maniacal about being in the press every second, has already burned out some of his supporters. They're like, no mas.
It's actually put sunlight on a lot of bad, things that haven't gone well. He's put the lights on for everyone to see, and I don't know how many days into the president where
what you pick up
people aren't
is that he has accelerated the pace of exhaustion among people.
I also think they're looking at nothing getting done.
I'd love to see someone measure it, but I think we all have the sense this is the most intense 90 days we've ever seen, and it goes to your point of people tuning out. They want results. And he can still, if he gets results, he can still, I think, win some of these people back. But 90 days of just exhausting people and having a Supreme Court confirmation to show for it for the most part.
And that number on keeps promises tells the whole story to me. In February, 62% of Americans said, yeah, he's a guy who keeps his promises. Now only 45% say that. Back in February, when we were still talking about the travel ban, we were still talking about repealing health care, we at the table said you can be angry about these things, but you can't be shocked, because this is exactly what he talked about during the campaign. Well, now he didn't do any of those things. Those things didn't make it through, and now he's changed his tone a little on China, something his supporters love. Now they're not currency manipulators anymore. I think a lot of people are thinking right now, all those big, bold promises, we thought he was going to be the guy who could come and change Washington, and he hasn't done it.
And Mika, all the things around this table we warned him about in November and December, and they're all on tape. And they're all in the transcript. So this is not Monday morning quarterbacking. We warned him every day. Don't pick fights with the intel community. Don't pick unnecessary fights with the press. Don't insult the Senate minority leader. Don't go to Paul Ryan's district and mock him and say you'll support him until you decide not to. Don't do all these things. Washington, winning in Washington is hard enough without picking unnecessary fights every day. You know who he really needs to be talking to right now on North Korea? The guy who warned him that North Korea was going to be his most difficult problem, Barack Obama. He can't do that because he has been so reckless and irresponsible with a tweet that he did on a Saturday morning, and he didn't have the character
to take it back.
And step back. So he has insulted everybody from the 44th president to Great Britain to all of our allies.
So hold on 1 second, okay? Thanks. What I was going to say was, to your point, I actually disagree. I don't think people are tuning out. I think they're tuning in. I mean, if you're saying that sales of the New York Times are up and our TV ratings up, I think they are. I think people are watching closely. And like me, they're really disappointed. And some of them are less disappointed, but they're disappointed.
Love
and
the
I think I think the lights are on this presidency.
Yep.
And it'd be really great for Trump if they would tune out just a tad bit.
I'm saying his core supporters that were there all the time and were online and fighting for him and watching on TV all the time are now kind of going like, wait a second, why am I fighting for this guy all the time when he keeps stepping on political landmines?
That's right. That's right.
You know, you mentioned something really kind of very interesting and intriguing.
It is the first time that has happened in 10 years. Can we get the confetti down from the ceiling?
The lack of communication, obviously, with the former President Barack Obama. And what you pick up anecdotally in listening to conversations with people is a lot of people seemingly, you know, they're not indicting him, they're not contemptuous of him, they're the vast middle, they represent the vast middle, and they're sick and tired of his referencing the election. He won the election. Stop talking about the election. Stop talking about how you won. Stop talking about the Electoral College. You're president, act like the president.
You know, and the guy said that he had won the most electoral votes of any Republican like in history or something like that. It ends up Peter Baker looked into it quickly. Other than George W. Bush in 2000, he actually in 2004 he actually won the least number of electoral votes of any Republican president going back to Rutherford B. Hayes. People are picking up on this stuff too. He keeps saying things that aren't true. Well, he was running against Hillary Clinton, who he told even more falsehoods, according to the American people. He's not running against Hillary Clinton anymore. He's running against himself.
And then there's this.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.